breaking news. August 5th, Nate Diaz will be fighting Jake Paul in an 8-round pro boxing fight at American Airlines Arena in Dallas, Texas. I can't believe this fight's actually happening. You know, there's always these fights that just circle and the media always talking about them. Like, what if this fight happens? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? This fight's actually happening.
Huh.
It's interesting. I don't even know what to make of it.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't.
The first thing that's coming to my mind is, what's even going to happen in the fight? Is Nate Diaz going to get knocked out? But Nate Diaz can't get knocked out.
Yeah, Nate Diaz has only been knocked out once in his entire MMA career. Over 20 fights in the UFC.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this. I think I would be more excited if Jake Paul was undefeated.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot less hype now.
Yeah, I just don't feel the hype because you got a dude who just lost to Tommy Fury.
Not that Tommy Fury is not a good boxer, but...
No, yeah, I'm not saying that. I was just saying you lost to Tommy Fury after he came off a win against Anderson Silva. I don't see the hype in this fight. Obviously, I'm going to watch it because it's Nate Diaz, and who doesn't want to watch Nate Diaz? But the real question is, what's going to happen in this fight?
I don't know. They're fighting at 185. So that's the weight. So you got Nate Diaz basically fighting at his normal weight. You got Jake Paul cutting weight. I mean, Jake Paul obviously has the power advantage.
But
Nate Diaz, that cardio, man, is just going and going and going and going. But it is only an 8-round fight. If it was 12 rounds, you'd be like, oh, I think Nate Diaz can easily walk away with it because Jake's just going to get gassed. But an 8-round fight, I mean, Nate Diaz, I don't know, man. Nate Diaz is a boxer, though. He's a brawler. He's a brawler in the UFC. But now that he's only got his hands, it's a lot different of a fight.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more worried because I think he uses his hands to set up the submissions, and that's not gonna be able to happen in boxing.
No leg kicks.
No leg kicks. No nothing. It's gonna be super interesting of a fight, maybe. Yeah, dude, I don't know about this.
I know. It's kind of like one of those stunners. I'm so interested on why they announced it this early. It's April. It's literally middle of April.
It's 5 months away.
Yeah. May, June, July, August. 4 months away. I thought they would always do the kind of...
You gotta consider April. We're in April.
Okay, 4.5 months away, Priest.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Like, whatever. But you got to consider the Mayweather way. You know, he always announced his fights 5.5 weeks before.
And they're already so deep into training camp.
Yeah. But
and
now
no one knew about it.
You're in 4 months away? Like, I don't know. I think it's
like it takes away the hype.
I think if they would have announced it at that 5-week mark, people are like, oh my God, they're fighting in when? They're fighting in early May? Are you serious? Really? Like, it was almost like the Tommy Fury. Like, it was announced, I literally want to say, probably 4 weeks before the fight.
Yeah.
And that's why it generated so much hype.
And
why would they announce it so early?
They sold like 800,000 pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane for Jake Paul and stuff like that.
Who do you think has more pressure in this fight, though?
Pressure?
Do you think it's Jake Paul? Like, who cannot afford to lose? If Jake Paul loses, he has 2 losses in the last 2 fights. If Nate Diaz loses, he's losing to an influencer boxer, if you would call him. I mean, he's a pro boxer. Jake Paul's good, but he's not.
I would say I don't think neither of them have pressure.
Neither?
Yes.
I disagree, man.
I was thinking about this. At first I wanted to say Jake Paul. But now I'm thinking about it. What does Jake Paul have to lose? Nothing. He's fighting one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. That's what he wants. He's going to make a big payday. Then if you look at Nate Diaz, okay, what? So what? If he loses to what even is Jake Paul? An influencer? I guess if he does lose to an influencer, Doesn't change anything. People are still
I
going to
think
tune
it
into.
does. No.
People will tune into
Not
Nate
as
Diaz.
much anymore.
People will tune into a Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor fight. People
Yeah.
will tune in. I'm talking about UFC because I guarantee you Nate Diaz after this fight will go to the UFC again.
I know, but it's way more pressure for Jake Paul. You're talking about you're losing your last 2 fights to Nate Diaz,
But he signed a
who's
PFL,
been there, who's done that.
He signed a PFL deal already.
So it's
So-
one pay-per-view. I mean, I have a hard time believing if he's 0-2 against Tommy Fury and then he loses to Nate Diaz that he's going to have that much hype in a PFL fight? Against who? The only reason he's getting this hype is because of the names he's fighting. But if he's fighting some Joe Schmo in the PFL, no one's going to tune into that.
I guarantee a
I don't
lot of
think
people
so.
will.
I think that the most pressure is on Jake Paul because his whole thing was, I'm undefeated. I'm beating Anderson Silva. I beat Ben Askren. I beat Tyron Woodley twice. Like, I'm undefeated.
Okay,
I haven't lost anyone.
Beat Ben Askren.
What do you mean?
Dude's a wrestler.
I know, but that's not my point.
Yeah,
my point
no,
is that his hype was that he was undefeated and then he lost to Tommy Fury. And if he loses to Nate Diaz, his boxing career is over.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah,
Because no one's going to want to tune in to watch him fight Tommy Fury again off of 2 losses. So Jake Paul has way more pressure. Nate Diaz doesn't. Nate Diaz loses all the time in the UFC. He at one point lost 4 in a row. But it doesn't matter. He could lose 5 in a row and he's still fighting Conor McGregor next year. And probably could win. So
Yeah.
I think the most pressure is on Jake Paul to win this fight. I think if he loses this fight, he's going to have a hard time getting a lot of people to watch his next fight.
I don't know. Question is, what's next for both of these guys after this fight?
I mean, if Diaz wins, he's probably going back to the UFC. I think he's waiting for that Conor McGregor fight. If Conor beats Chandler and doesn't get the title fight, he's fighting Nate Diaz.
Yeah, but I feel like Conor's gonna want to go chase the belt rather than fight Diaz again. How
Maybe,
sick of
maybe
a
not.
fight would that be? Conor wins the belt at welterweight and fights Diaz in the trilogy for the belt. Wouldn't
That'd be insane.
The whole MMA world would be on an axis.
Yeah,
right now.
they'd be on a riot. There'd be a whole riot in the welterweight division.
Literally.
I don't know. It's interesting. I don't like that we're talking about it 4.5 months away. I
Yeah,
think that
dude,
was kind of dumb.
Just have
I'd
this
rather
fight,
be
like,
talking
next
about this
week.
for next month. So announcing it this early, I don't know what their thought was on that.
Yeah, I don't
Jake
know.
Paul's obviously not fighting in the PFL this year. I don't think. Maybe he could. Maybe December card.
I
But
got all excited for no reason. I really thought he was gonna fight in MMA, but
we'll see. He still might.
What
He still
happened?
signed the deal. He still's got to do that pay-per-view card. So we'll see about that. But for 2023, he is not fighting in the PFL. And he's fighting Nate Diaz in a boxing fight. Let us know in the comments who you got. Give us your early predictions. Will Nate Diaz beat Jake Paul in a boxing fight? Or will Jake Paul come back, avenge his loss, and beat Nate Diaz? I don't know. Remains to be seen.
This is the Burn Factor.